Welcome to another episode of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. My name is Kelly, and my co-host, as always, is James. What's happening?
What's going on, my sister?
You know, it's been another week, and things are good. Things are good, though. How is everything on your side of the world?
Things are good here. I keep looking out the window expecting to see this blizzard we're supposed to be having, but it looks pretty nice outside. Cold, but no blizzard.
Yep, Snowmageddon 2021.
Yeah.
About a half an inch compared to the 18 to 24 inches that was being predicted for where I am in Colorado.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's what they said, and so people made a run on food at the store, milk,
toilet
bread,
paper?
eggs, toilet paper, all that stuff was gone because they've been saying this for a couple of days now, and it just now snowed today. So it happens.
We got 36 hours to get 24 inches.
Yeah, how about that? So today, James, we have a guest, another guest. Like I said, we're on a guest roll, and we're almost at the end of season 2.
Wow, already.
Yeah, we're almost at the end. We said that we would do 12 episodes a season. We started our season back in January, and that seems like a long time ago, right? But it doesn't even seem like that long.
I know. I mean, you say January, and it sounds like a long time, but then you sit back and think about it. I was like, that went pretty quick.
Yeah, so we're coming up on the end of season 2, and then we'll take off the month of April to get some stuff together, and then we'll be back in May.
We got big plans.
We got big plans.
Yeah, we do.
So, should I tell you about our guest?
Yeah, give me some background, Cal.
All right, so June, her name is June Ahern, and she's authored 4 books, and she's a metaphysical coach. A film based on her murder case that's in her book, How to Speak with Spirits, Seances, Mediums, and Ghost Hunts, is scheduled production of 2021. And here's something that I bet you didn't know, that I know about June, is that Veronica Cartwright, you're supposed to say, who's Veronica Cartwright?
Well, you didn't give me a chance.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Veronica Cartwright.
Who's Veronica Cartwright, Cal?
Veronica Cartwright was the other woman in the original movie Aliens. So there was Ripley, who was Sigourney Weaver, and then in the very first one, there was another woman. That's Veronica Cartwright. And she is going to actually play June in this movie that they're doing about one of the paranormal investigations that she did.
Really?
So, yeah, June is a psychic medium. She has been for the past 40 years. She's now retired and does more coaching. Like I said, she's authored some books, and she's here today to talk to us about her experiences and just the crazy shit that she knows about.
Excellent.
What do you think? Should we get right to it?
Let's do it.
Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to That's Some Crazy Shit. Author and psychic medium, June Ahern. June, thank you so much for being on the podcast, being on That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. How are you?
Today, right now, I'm good. Thank you.
Great. I'm excited to have you, you being a psychic medium for, 40 years plus, and just all the experiences that you have that we would deem as crazy shit. Normal shit to you, crazy shit to us, because it doesn't happen to us all the time. So we just wanted to talk with you and just, learn about your experiences and just talk about it. So I'm going to let James kick it off with the whatever questions you have. James, go ahead.
All right, welcome, June. Thank you for being with us today. Excuse me. June, when did you realize that you had this gift?
It was after my near-death experience when I already had the near-fatal car accident. And then within a few weeks after, because at first I was in the hospital for a week and got out, and I started having these thoughts about people that I hadn't seen And I didn't, eventually it came to people that I don't even know. I began to know things about them, what was going on with them, how they were feeling, what happened to them in their lifetime history. So back in the early 1970s.
70s. So you were a little older then? I shouldn't say older, but I guess I'm asking because we talked about children being able to see things that adults can't. And I was wondering if that was the case with you.
Well, I wasn't aware of that. At that time, I was 19 and 20 in the 70s. But I realized later, my family would always laugh about me, say, in the middle of the night, I would get up and walk around the house and just stare at people. And I began to be aware that what it was is that I was feeling the presence of other relatives that had already passed on. But as a child, I didn't know what that was. I just thought they were people that I was following around the house.
Interesting.
Wow. So June, so when you discovered, after your near-death experience and you discovered that you had this gift, at what point did you start turning it into a career?
Well, 1975 was my first paying people that a friend of mine said, they're going to pay you $5 to do a reading. I went, $5? Wow, that's like, there's 3 of them. That's cool, man. And so I started reading for people I didn't know because it was my friends' friends. And I never advertised for any readings ever in my entire career. And I always had people coming to me for recommendations.
Wow.
Yeah, word of mouth. That carries a lot of weight, word of mouth.
Yes.
And you must have been incredibly accurate as well.
Yes. It started out with, once in a while. And then eventually I had to decide between holding jobs and doing readings and teaching classes. And it was scary because, I was a single parent. I needed that income. But I had to make some decisions later on. This is, later on that I decided, okay, I'm going to do this. But I was already doing it. I was doing anywhere from 6 to 10 readings a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So is it something that once you figured out that you have this gift and that you could read people, is it something that you can control, or is it on all the time?
It is on all the time, but I have learned to control it because it's very unhealthy. And I teach people now when they say, well, I get them and I can't stop it. I said, there is ways to stop this. And of course, as we all hear, meditation, deciding like, no, I'm not going to go there right now. I mean, I could be standing in the line, and this has really happened to me, whether it be at the bank or the supermarket or standing next to a man. This happened when I was shopping, and pick up things right away. And I don't want to say anything to the person, but it's flooding in. So I have to say, okay, this isn't the time and place. So you do have to learn how to turn it off. Or, quite frankly, like schizophrenia, you can start to go pretty wonky.
Yeah.
Overwhelming, I bet.
Yeah.
I would think so. So I know that in your book you had talked about working with the police and paranormal investigations. Can you tell us some stories or some encounters that you had during those times?
Yes. I tell everyone right now, though it may sound exciting to people to work, with the police to begin with, we have a difficult relationship at times, but to work in a way where you are reliving a murder case, someone being murdered, it is not pleasant at all. It's very, very emotionally upsetting, mentally draining. One story that comes to mind is a couple came to me and their son had been murdered, and I didn't want to do it. And I told the other psychic that referred me, because she said, I don't do mediumship work. So I said, well, I really don't want to do this. But then I ended up talking to the woman, and I said to her name was Rita, actually, just came back to me this many years ago. I said, well, I don't know why you're calling, because the police have already arrested the man that murdered him. And she said, yeah, that's true. But I still want to talk to my son and find out, how did he feel? What was going on? And so I said, okay, then you can come to the house. And I realized how desperately, especially death, people want things. But when there is a case of murder or suicide, sudden death, like a tragic, say car accident, the grief is I need to contact and say, what were you thinking? Did you hurt? Did you call me? And it's really very sorrowful. And so the couple came to me, and I gave them some information of what was going on, and I was accurate enough because they came back, but they brought relatives. Well, in the relatives, there were two quite hostile people in their family who thought that I was making things up. But more came to me, different spirits, not only this young man. And I told the couple of the murdered son, and he's an adult. I said, I think we're done. I think you've contacted him enough. You know what's going on. But she called me on his anniversary a year later and begged me to see her again. So when she came, I said to her, well, Dominic, I kept calling her son Dominic. Well, that wasn't her name. That was her grandson, her son's son. And I said, well, I can't get away from this. I keep hearing Dominic needs this from you and that. And so what I concluded was we had finished communicating with her son, and now it was time for them to focus on his son and to leave it alone. And that story, I have not thought of that story, but it just came to me, Kelly, when you asked that question. So a little bit of a lesson, like, sometimes you just have to stop.
Yeah, I would imagine. So, are you a medium where when you used to read people, because you said you retired, you don't read people anymore, is it just sitting in front of you and you being able to read them, and you're not using like anything like tarot cards or anything like that?
I am using the tarot cards. It's a wonderful medium. It takes you away from the people. Because, I'm going to tell you, people always want to give you clues. They'll say, I want to talk about my job. Is it going to be any good? And already I'm like, oh, well, they don't like their job, right? So the tarot card has me pull away from the person. And it also helps me develop a communication. It helps me develop a word or a language. How do you express a psychic impression? The tarot card gives you some sort of ideas and clues according to the image on it.
So are you picking up images then in like your mind's eye type thing?
Yes, I am, first of all, clairvoyant. So I do see images. I can watch it like I'm watching a TV program. That was how the murder cases were. I mean, I was watching it, and then I'm also clairaudio. In time, I began to develop clairaudio, where I was given direct language. When I speak to what we would call the masters or your guardian angel, if I would speak to your angel or my master or guardian was talking to me, the language was often in Old English. And I would have to change that and interpret it into our everyday language. It is. Or I would hear noises like it's funny how things come out when you ask questions. This one man, I kept hearing chickens. And I thought, well, how am I going to tell this new client, I just feel like you've been around chickens and ranches with chickens and farms and stuff. And I said, I keep hearing chickens. And he goes, oh my God, when I was a boy, my grandparents had a chicken ranch, and I used to love to go in there and collect the eggs. And I wasn't going to say anything because, come on. Look at the I hear chickens. So I began to develop that. I do stay away a lot from clairsensing, which a lot of empaths have, where
what is that?
You're using your feelings.
Oh.
It could be a very devastating thing to you physically, emotionally, and mentally if you're not trained. And one time I taught a class, an ESP class, was an ongoing class. Every person in there was a Cancerian, moonchild, and they were all clairsentient. I couldn't believe it. My 6 students that I didn't know till they got to the class, right? I didn't ask them, what sign are you? And I had to teach them not to feel so much psychic messages, because you become the person then. Like in the murder cases, I became the victim.
Wow.
And I was being stabbed, and I was being kicked on the ground. I actually, when I worked with the police, got out of the car, and it was a gravel road of all things, right? And I got down on the ground, and I was like crawling away, crying and crying. He's kicking me. And on her backside, at her back, there were imprints of large work boots. And I didn't know that. Ooh, just gives me the chill now. So,
Amazing.
yeah, it was not pleasant. And thank God my sister was with me, and she picked me up off the ground. I was crawling on gravel. She couldn't have picked sand or lawn or something. Yes, I have conversations with my spirits like that. Like, could you cut it out? Or
June, does everybody have a guardian angel?
I believe they do. No, it's up to each individual to believe this. When we come into this world, we're assigned a guardian angel or a spirit to come in with us. I grew up as a Catholic, and we had the little prayer, guardian angel, keep me, safe and all that. So I already had that thought frame. But as I began to study all the different kinds of cultures and religions, there is a lot of references toward angels and spirit guides and all of that. And so I tend to believe that there are spirits around us that are here to help us navigate the world, navigate life. Now, we could choose to talk to them or not. I mean, God gave us, or the divine, however you want to look at it. I don't belong to any religion anymore, but I practice my spirituality religiously, like daily. I think that we need to turn into ourselves. In Buddhism and in Rosicrucianism, which I am, they talk about we have the master within. We know everything. And modern day psychology tells you that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. You know what you're supposed to do. You just have to get through the layers. So yes, to your question, I believe that we do have an angel or guardian or teacher.
When people say that they're talking to their spirit guides, when you say you're talking to your spirit guides, it's your guardian angels, or it's a spirit that comes to you all the time? These are the spirits that when you are using your gift, it's the same spirits that come to you and talk to you, your guides?
No. You have one guardian angel that comes in with you kind of like from birth, tries to watch over you the best they can from birth to about early 20s, they say. And then the angel steps back and says, go at it. Go see what you can do. And then later in life, as we get into like me in my 70s and 80s, the guardian angel comes back, tries to help you prepare for leaving this world for different things. You see older people say, I don't worry about that anymore. Or, you know what? I only got 20 years left, or whatever. And that's the angel preparing you. Teachers, spiritual teachers and guides can be different throughout your life. Like say, Kelly says, I really want a writing guide to come in and help me be more disciplined so I can finish my essays or finish whatever I'm writing. I want inspired. And so you sit and you meditate and you invite into you a spiritual guide that perhaps lived on this planet who was a writer.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so you call
that makes sense.
Or I want to be more playful. So I'm going to, how do I talk to the children? And so I'm going to pull in kind of a joyful little guide to come in here and remember my happiness. My 5-year-old and 6-year-old, when I used to feel that I could climb that tree, I could do that. And so that little guide comes in and is with you.
Yeah, that does make sense. That does make sense. What about life after death? I know that that's a big question that people have. What happens when you die? And there's a lot of theories, because obviously nobody is around to tell us. Well, not physically that I can see, right? But what happens, June? What do you know about life after death?
Some people welcome death, some people fear it, and some people accept it. And a lot of what people believe what happens after death is related to their religion. And they learn it at an early age. There's some people that say, well, that's all there is and this is life. And in a way, that's not so bad because you learn to live. In Buddhism, they talk about living in the golden present. So you're not always thinking, well, I'll be good so I can get into heaven.
Right.
Right.
Well, you should just be good because it's a nice thing to do.
Be a good person because that's a good thing to do. Yeah.
I'm like everyone else. Can I really tell you what happens after death? Well, I can only tell you what I experienced as a person that has the ability to talk to spirits and see ghosts. And in my learnings, my teachings, that when we leave this body, and this body, as we know, is a vehicle. I happen to kind of like having this vehicle. I'm facing the idea that I'm going to have to leave this vehicle sooner than later now. And so you transition out of it. And a time has gone on. I think of us going to another space, another dimension. If you want to call that nirvana or heaven, slumberland, whatever you want to call it, you're in a different place and time. Scientists are saying that there is the brain, and these are some of the latest scientific studies, say in the last decade, that they agree there's a mind that is separate from the brain, and they just can't figure it out yet. So a scientist is becoming more and more aware of telepathy, how it works. They're not boo-hooey like, oh yeah, there's no spirit life. They're starting to say there's something here.
They're more open-minded to it now.
Yeah, as it should be.
You're right, and that's why we, when we say it's crazy, June, that's what we're talking about. That there's things out there that we can't explain. Science can explain, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. And I think that's when we say it's crazy. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's weird. That's crazy. Or people think that. And so when you go to the other side, supposedly, in my beliefs, you are met by a panel of higher beings. They are judging you, not judging you. They're saying, well, June, you want to see these parts of your life that maybe you didn't do so good at?
No, I don't want
people you meet on the other side, not all your relatives and everybody says, oh, I love you, you're great. So you get to meet them. As a matter of fact, they take you over. I've been with enough dying people. I didn't get into this to be deal with death. I don't know how it came. It just kept growing. I didn't go out to say, oh, I want to talk about death. I want to talk about spirits. I used to deny when I did readings. People would say, I heard your medium. I say, no, let's just do the reading of now. And then it just kept blowing up, So you get your relatives, and if you've ever been with a person that is dying, they will often talk about, oh, my mother. Oh, look who's there. It's my aunt. I loved her. They'll talk about people like that, and they'll look like they're looking away. It happens often. As I said, I've been with quite a few people called in when someone's leaving by families. I don't really want to, but I want to respect families. I want to respect how they feel. So we get to see our relatives. I remember my mom said she can't die because she was so pissed at my father for something. And it took her about 15 years to die. And at the very end, as she was dying, the last couple of weeks, she said, I was talking to your father when you came in the room. I said, are you guys getting along a little better now? She said, yeah. They have known each other since they were 12 years old. And so you're met by that. And then you're sitting with this panel and they're asking you, what did you learn? What did you learn when you were down there on planet Earth? Well, I used to have a terrible temper. I mean, I would sooner kick ass of somebody that upset me. I was a bad girl. And I had to learn that that's not the good way to communicate with people. You can't go around kicking somebody's ass because you think they insulted you. And so what I learned is use your head. Use your gift of trying to negotiate or walk away from somebody. You don't have to react to everybody.
That's true.
That was I came from a big family and we were fighters. And you just didn't mess with the family. Everybody in the neighborhood and beyond knew our name and knew you didn't mess with the family. And I had to learn to be a different kind of warrior. And then once you begin to learn that, you have to rest. You have to heal. Say I die from lung cancer or a heart attack or something. And then I have to heal the lessons that come. Have you read any of Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life?
I have.
I have not.
She talks about all of our organs, our skin, everything being connected to an emotion and a mental way of thinking. And so you begin to heal. And while you're here healing, you get to choose a job. I saw my brother-in-law who had passed on. He had been a Vietnam vet. He had been there twice. And he did have it all when he came back. Well, he didn't have heroin addiction, but he was pretty shattered. And he had to learn peacefulness. So he took a job. The first time I realized that is he took a job in a garden. And I would see him when my sister would say, "What is he doing?" I said, "Well, he's planting some new seeds right now." And so you get to have a job. You may even pick a job where you're part of another spirit guide. James may pick a job when he passes on to come down and help orphan children feel they are wanted. He may, that may be part of his job, to help him elevate spiritually, to heal and to elevate. So if he's coming back, if you believe in reincarnation, he comes back a more enlightened being, and he continues on.
So is that why we have ghosts? Is that why there are ghosts? Because they're not reincarnated yet, or they're doing something, they're doing their job?
Somewhat. I separate. All ghosts are spirits, but to make a little difference, speaking with a spirit that's on the other side that is going through their lesson and healing, and then the ghosts that are still earthbound. And so that's why they show up in my paranormal investigations. I'll go, "Oh, look at that one." They are there. You ever had a friend that you talk on the phone and they go on and on and on about, "Oh my God, I'll never get over she said that to me." And so she goes through the entire conversation again. Now you've known her for 25 years and you've heard it for 25 years. And you're like, "Oh, you have to get over it. You got to heal." And finally you just say, "You know what? Shut up. I can't take it anymore." That's the ghost. The ghost is going over and over the same story. And
Interesting.
yeah. Although I have to say, and I never knew this until I was doing those paranormal investigations. I was invited to do them, just like I was. Every book I wrote, I was asked to write it. So I found this ghost in this alleyway, one of my things you see. And I said to him, "You should move on," because that's what I learned, that we should all help him move on. He says, "Why? I love it here. I get to talk to people like you. I'm doing my job. I'm watching the building across the street. What's the problem?" And I thought, wow, well, who am I to tell a spirit to move on if they don't want to?
I never thought about that. Yeah, what if they don't want to move on? Everyone always talks about helping you move on.
That was my lesson. I'm like, well, shouldn't they just move on? And that is also up to the ghost. Now, the ones that are suffering, what I say to people is, pray for them. I'm a big prayer. I meditate and I pray all the time, every day. And so maybe light a candle and sit and say, "I wish you well. I wish you," and you send the vibration of, "I know somebody murdered you. I know they choked you. It was horrible. I wish you healing." And that's the most I can say to people.
That's interesting, June. My family, we've always believed in this type of thing. And growing up, I remember if my mom would see a spirit, she would burn a candle. And I never quite understood why. And now it makes sense. That's what she was doing. But I've had family members still do it. My sisters will still do it if they feel they've seen a spirit or feel a spirit. They'll light a candle.
Very good practice. A very good practice. I light candles, as I meditate, I light candles every day. It's to the enlightenment. I do have to tell you, James, I don't know if you come from a Quaker family or a pilgrim family or something, but there is a male energy there, and he's got the hat on, the top hat kind of thing.
Really? That's interesting, because I don't know of any Quakers in my family.
Yeah.
But you have a portal in your house.
That is, I was told I do have a portal. here,
Two.
June. I don't.
Two
Yeah,
portals.
two. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told.
Yeah. Well, I don't
So-
see him causing any harm, but he is in there, and he's not gone completely from this earth. I mean, I don't feel like he's attacking you or anything, but he comes from that background of kind of course, the religious sort of feeling about it. You
That's
know?
interesting you say that, Jim, because I have often thought there was a male presence here, and I didn't know who it was. I believe my mom is here, but that's interesting. I never thought of that's how would something like that? Is he's here to help me teach, or he's here to teach me something?
He's connected to your energy. It can be that even the land you live on before your house was built was a community or a settlement of a small group of religious people. You know.
Okay, Kelly, do you want to take this part?
Go ahead, James. I mean, that's
we live in a very religious community here, June. It's very LDS, and they've been here. I mean, they settled this territory. And so it's very likely I'm sitting on one of their property.
that is very true.
Yeah.
And the LDS people used to look like, I would say, Quakers. They had the beard, they'd have the hat. That's interesting.
Where you live?
In
Yes.
this area, yes.
Oh, you live kind of in the Quaker place?
No.
It's LDS.
So the
Latter-day
Mormons,
Saints.
he's saying
Oh, the
that where he is, the
Mormons.
Mormons settled,
Okay.
and probably where
Well,
his house is
This
was a
definitely
settlement.
looks like that, kind of the black coat and the hat. You know,
Wow.
those tall hats that they had.
Yeah, that's how they.
You know, and then of course men all wore beards at that time. Or well, most.
You're blowing me away.
You know, and I don't. The feeling I get from he just smiled at me. The feeling I get is that he's here to have you just be calm and to do your readings. He's talking about doing daily readings. Why don't you read something each day, whatever you prefer, to bring a sense of that into your work? You know?
Okay, I read every day a half hour to our kids.
Okay. Yeah.
They love me to read this book about this dog it's a rescue dog. That is you are telling me things, June, that are just rocking me right now.
It's just like when Kelly, I said, Kelly, I hate to do this, I don't want to do this, but you know, woman here. And so the two of you hold that kind of energy. And now that I know you live in a community, an area of spiritual people, whether we agree with their religion or not, there's a lot of spirituality there.
They're very spiritual, yes.
Wow.
That's
my mind is blown. You are incredible. So, June, can you tell us about, you talked about your paranormal investigations, and so people are calling you to houses or whatever and asking you to investigate with like a camera crew, because don't you do like a show about paranormal investigations? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was invited. A young woman came to me quite a long 2005. It seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? So much has happened in the world. And she had come for a reading when her mother passed on and wanted me to comfort her. And a few years after that, then she called me and said, I'm working with this paranormal group. It started out as a school project, but would you like to come and investigate? She was the only medium that she thought was worth anything, I guess, to call or whatever. And I said, well, where are you going to investigate? She said, the Zodiac Circle. And I said, absolutely not. I will not go to a place like that. The pain alone of these young people that were murdered. And she said, okay, all right. If I find another place, would you go? And I said, yeah, well, check with me. I was kind of semi-retired and kind of cutting down. And so she said, how about the Condor Club in San Francisco? The Condor Club is like the first topless strip joints in San Francisco. It's really infamous. And a man died there. The manager died there in a very strange way. Wow. And so I said, yeah. In my era, women didn't go into places like that. If you were a hippie and all that, you still didn't go into places where they had men and sex and naked women, right? So I was like, always wanted to go in and see what happens there. So I got to go on a paranormal investigation. That was my first investigation with the Haunted Bay. And so I do not, it's very rare that I will go to anyone's home, private home, because I will charge them. I will charge them for my time. With the Haunted Bay, I did not charge them. I did it out of, keeping myself entertained while I was retiring. Like I just, I don't really want to have clients anymore. I want to do things when I want to do things, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
You can't really give up what I have. You
Right.
can't stop.
Right. You just can't turn it off.
Correct. I can't turn it off, but it's always there. So that's how it started out. And I just started doing these different investigations. Even when I would say to Ying, who was the producer, I say, no, that's it. Don't call me anymore. And then she'd call me. She'd say, I found this place. I think you might find it interesting because I don't want to know where we're going or whatever. I don't want any preconceived ideas. She may say it's a warehouse, or she may say it's a school or something like that. But no addresses. I don't want to know. I want my own thoughts. Where am I going? I'll show up. And so places she'd call, I turned some down. And they did investigations with other mediums, turned out great. And some I took. And that's how it kind of just came to be. And it's been really fun and interesting. And now they're on Amazon Prime. If anybody watches it, get through the first 2 episodes. Not episodes. Yeah, episodes, seasons, episodes. They are what they are, but get into the 3rd one and you'll see more of what goes on with paranormal investigation.
And what is it called again? Haunted Bay?
The Haunted Bay.
The Haunted Bay. That's
I
really
just discovered Amazon Prime, so I will be watching that.
Yeah, get through the first 2. Some of the reviews are very bad because the people didn't get through the first 2, saying this looks like a high school thing, it looks like a class project, and that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was, but it should have been said that.
Right.
And it wasn't. But if you get into the 3rd one and the 4th one and even the different seasons, it just keeps getting more in line with what a paranormal investigation actually is.
Fantastic.
And they got better equipment. They were able to buy better equipment.
So they upgraded. They upgraded.
They upgraded.
So June, I know that you wrote the book How to Talk with Spirits, and that book is a really, I guess, maybe a guide to help others tap into that. But I noticed something when I was reading about the book that you had mentioned something about vampires. And I saw that was very interesting because me and James have talked about vampires before. And when you say that you've encountered vampires, do you mean like real live vampires or vampire, like in the traditional sense of vampires?
No, I'm not a vampire person. I don't watch vampire movies. I don't read vampire stories. I'm not into that at all. But I'm talking about spirits, really. But when you say vampires, to me, there are people living that are like vampires. They suck the life out of you. And this is not hard to understand. Have you ever been with anybody, family or friend, and when they leave, you're like this? Oh, my
yes.
God.
Right, yeah.
I really avoid, now I used to give people, okay, you got 10 minutes to talk to me, that's it. And so I'm speaking about vampire entities. They will come to you and they really prey upon the weak, the sick, and the old. And do I believe that they can attach themselves to you and make you even sicker? I would have said, I don't know a few years ago, but then it happened to me. I always say to somebody, I either experienced it, I read about it, or I just don't really know. People tell me all kinds of stuff. I can't say they're crazy because people say I'm crazy.
Right.
So I'm speaking more about spiritual vampires, the entity. That's why I do not encourage people to play with contacting, going to a place where people have heard it's kind of an evil house. Don't go there. And then they go there. They go there and it's like, why would you go there? I mean, I've been in some stuff, like I was in one of the paranormal investigation, and there was this woman running this spirit, all murdered, bloody, ghost. And I said to the cameraman, I go, I'm backing up. And I said, if I'm backing up and feel fear, you better back up.
Right.
Scared very easy. So vampire entities are the ones that will get into your head In the Asian, especially the Chinese philosophy, is that evil spirits come back through the back of the head here, where the spine, and there's a little gap between the brain stem and the spine there, and they enter there. I've often found them, I also found them, not often, enter different people that have come to me, and I could count it on one hand, attachments of all the years I worked with you. And it comes here through your shoulder and up your neck. And they come and they take over your life. Like people start saying, I feel so different. I feel angry, or I feel like I just could kill somebody, or I feel like I'm so afraid all the time. And it came during a time that they were very weakened, either an illness, or they were very emotionally drained. They were overworked. That's what happened to me. And that's what I mean by vampire entities. Don't play. I don't like the Ouija board. I know people get in, they like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's a source that can, not necessarily does, but can open that door to ghosts or spirits that you don't want coming in your atmosphere. Because if you think we're all energy, we present ourselves in different faces and size of bodies and colors and all that, but we're really just all energy.
Right.
We're energy.
I believe that.
And if your energy is dark, then you're picking up emotionally difficult time. You're picking up that kind of energy. You're attracting it to you. Knowing that was, when I was in Jamaica.
I'm interested in looking into that.
Yeah, so you'll have to definitely give us the contact information so that we can put it in the description of the podcast. So if somebody wants to jump on your monthly Zoom call and talk about whatever topic you're talking about. Yeah, do you let others talk? Is it interactive?
No.
So it's just talking.
I'm too bossy. I'm too bossy for that. Everybody has to mute. So I present what I have, and then I have a question time. And there is a woman that it helps me. She collects the questions and she asks me. If you've ever done an interactive, there will always be somebody, always, since I used to teach classes, that will take over the talk.
That's true.
I've been in training like that.
Yeah. So they will completely make it all about them. And I'm just too bossy for that. And I try to stay really nice. I say, I know you want to share, and I really appreciate it, but other people would like to share. That's what I say. So, I don't want to give the impression I'm not a very nice spiritual person.
But you get 50, 60 people on a call. It's no longer your call anymore. So I understand having to mute everybody.
Yeah, so it's cool, and I love the people. They're so nice. The people that have come. Most of it's repeated people have been coming, and at the end of it, I do a little what I call reader raffle. I give as a gift a 10-minute mini reading to put everybody's name that signed up for the class. I take it. I pick a name. So 4 people get a gift of a psychic reader that I've picked, readers that I know, and passing on kind of business to other people that I've had readings from and I trust. This one's a little different. I'm going to call it a blessing. We're going to talk about tragic deaths, sudden deaths. The woman that's speaking in her family has suffered from family members, suicide, murder, and tragic car accident of a young brother, and how she healed that from, post-traumatic stress things, what she did. So I offered that, and I'm going to offer a session with her, who I'll just pick out a name and say, okay, so-and-so is get a session with her. And all of this, I pay for all of this out of it. So I'm not doing it to make money. I'm doing it to pass on information. Hey, if I make some money, I take my kids to the zoo or my grandkids to the zoo. But it's to give information. And that's
right.
And that's what we're here to do too, is we want to help get that information out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. That's what we are here to do.
Yeah, I would agree. June, thank you so much for your time. I have truly enjoyed speaking with you. James?
I enjoyed it too. It was really a pleasure, and thank you so much for coming on.
Can I just say one more thing to James? I guess on this shoulder, so your left shoulder, a woman just showed up, and she's dressed again in that kind of the bonnet and what we would call it, the late 1800s, late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, when you make those little dolls, like out of yarn and stuff, would you teach the children about making little things for themselves? They'll really like it.
I have to laugh at you because I am like, me and Kelly were just talking about this. I am zero artsy. I don't do billboards or anything. So this would be interesting if I start all of a sudden become an art person.
They would just look like little dolls. They put, they would, I guess, knit them or something and put little clothes on them. That's what she's saying.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
Joy, again, thank you. It is a pleasure.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
James.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, James, I never knew that you had ghost pilgrims in your house.
Isn't that wild that she would describe them?
A man and a woman.
Yeah, and like I said, where we're located, that makes total sense, man.
Well,
what's funny? Weren't we just talking a couple days ago about how I don't do billboards or art projects?
And now the ghost is like, you need to make dolls because the kids would love it. So that was crazy. She picked up all types of stuff on you. And your house is a portal, so you never know.
And what was funny, before we started recording, what did she say about the kid energy I had around me?
She said that you were surrounded by children energy and you teach children, so that energy must stay with you, she said. Almost like childlike James.
Yeah, that would be me.
Childlike. Aw, he has a childlike energy.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. That's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
I tell you, I like June. I liked her a lot. I really liked talking to her. All the information on her monthly Zoom call will be in the podcast description so that if you want to go check her out, you can. It's a shame she doesn't do readings anymore because she's good.
Well, and I feel privileged that she gave me a quick one.
Yeah, she really did. She really did.
That was very
cool.
So,
James, you had said that through Facebook that we had some people reach out to us and had questions for you.
Yeah, I'm excited because, we're always telling people to reach out to us. We actually had 2 people reach out to us, and they're both questions about Bigfoot. The first one is from a Marla Stark Williams from Taylorsville, Utah. She's asking about Bigfoot scat. Has Bigfoot scat ever been found? Okay. So I did some quick research, and then what I know of the subject, it's one of those things, they find what they believe is Bigfoot scat, and when they test it, it turns out to be bear scat. Okay. Or it turns out to be, once again, unknown primate scat. And we had talked about what the difference is, the appearance. Apparently, Bigfoot scat looks like human scat, only larger. And bear scat isn't as big. So...
Well, James, I'm really impressed with your knowledge of the various types of scat, which is AKA for shit.
Yeah,
so I'm really...
That's some really crazy impressed. Shit.
Yep. I'm just impressed with your scat knowledge, and wow, way to go on answering that question, because I would have been like, huh?
So I hope that answers Marla's question.
Yeah, me too, because we don't want to talk about it anymore, Marla.
Yeah, we will, Marla. Hit me up. I'll talk about it. The next one comes from Irene Ortiz from Taylorsville, Utah, who asks if there have ever been any sightings of baby Bigfoot.
Unlike Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Baby Bigfoot, yes, no, James?
No, actually, there have been reports of baby and juvenile Bigfoot. And in fact, there's 2 really good videos of baby Bigfoot playing in a tree. And it looks just like a chimpanzee, but it's like, I don't remember, I want to say in Kentucky or Arkansas or somewhere. And you can see this, looks like a monkey flipping around the tree, and then it drops down. and they say it drops down onto a larger female and then they take off. And then the one I think is really, really good is you see the Bigfoot move across the screen, drop down, literally pick up a child and hold it like you would a child, against its chest, look at the camera, and then just walk off camera real quickly. That is actually...
With a Bigfoot child or just a child?
No, a Bigfoot child. It was a
okay.
Bigfoot getting a Bigfoot child, And that's one of the best videos of a Bigfoot I've ever seen. And so if you look for those on YouTube, those are really good videos.
So to answer her question, the answer is...
Yes, there have been videos, and like I said, there are stories of... I've heard of one where there's two adolescents wrestling, and they were watched from a distance, so... Those are interesting stories too.
Right on. So maybe if somebody else has questions, and not just about Bigfoot, we can talk about other stuff. We'll call it Q&A with James.
Q&A. Right on. With
All
James.
right. So next week, another episode. I think we're having a guest come through. No, actually we're not. Next week, James, is our last episode. It is me and you, and we are going to be doing frequencies and vibrations.
And the crazy thing about this, guys, how long have we been talking about this? And it seems like it just keeps coming up everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like we should be doing this episode because you're right. Ever since we brought it up, it's come up a lot. So next week, our final episode of season 2 will be frequencies and vibration. It will just be me and James. We are our own guest.
Yeah, and it's nice to have the last episode saved for us so we can kind of, get back to our roots,
Get back to some crazy shit. So remember, you can get at us. We are on all the social media platforms. We have an email address, thatsomecrazyshitpodcast@gmail.com. James, we have a Facebook page, which is
K&J's Podcast.
We have an Instagram account, which is...
I still don't know Instagram.
Maybe next week. That's _somecrazyshit. We have a Twitter at That's Some Crazy Shit. We're on YouTube, and we actually have some subscribers. So thank you, you 8 wonderful YouTube subscribers. We appreciate you. We do.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll be back next week.
Right on. Keep your minds open, people.